Hello, welcome to wesleygospel.com. I would like to talk about a biblical view on the military, a biblical view on soldiers, a biblical view on uh, fighting wars. So, wars, soldiers, and military. And there might actually be some military people listening to me right now. Who knows? Maybe some chaplains listening to me. Um, it's really important that I would think that when thinking through an issue like this, that extremes are avoided, um, because I, I've thought through the ethics of this subject on and off for a lot of years, and I think that extremes extremes can come into the picture when you're looking at this. So you really, I think, you have to look at it from a spectrum, and on the left side, you've got pacifism, which says, will quote Bible verses like where Jesus said, "He who lives by the sword dies by the sword." And so this idea is more based around don't do any fighting whatsoever, don't own any weapons, and decide to not be in soldierly activity at all. And even conscientious objection, I'm willing to go to prison rather than to fight in a war. And this sort of takes the sissy side towards military activity in the name of Jesus Christ. And that's not really what Jesus means when he says, uh, they who live by the sword will die by the sword." What he means there, if you look at the context, Peter is attacking people in Gethsemane with his sword that he already had in the first place. Let's think about that. The apostles were already carrying around short swords on their belts in the first place. So what was Peter doing with the sword in the first place in Gethsemane to pull it out and strike Malchus's ear? Well, he had a sword. Jesus never told him not to have one, right? So the reality of the situation is that probably not only Peter, but all of the apostles had short swords, maybe even Jesus. And so the reality of the situation is not Jesus saying, "Hey, Peter, where'd you get that sword? I never told you to get a sword. Don't buy swords." No, he was speaking to an attitude of don't be trigger happy. Is what he was saying. Don't be sword happy. Don't be like pulling out your sword all the time because you want to play with it like a little boy with a toy, swinging his sword around. Okay, uh, that's the reality. So Jesus actually told the apostles to buy swords in Luke 22:36. Let's go there. Jesus actually told the apostles to buy swords in Luke 22 verse 36. He said, "If you have a purse, take it, and also a bag. And if you don't have a sword, sell your cloak and buy one." Luke 22, verse 36. Jesus told his people, his disciples, to buy swords. Why? For self-defense. He knew that the apostles were going to be persecuted, even with violence at times, by bandits, and because they would have to be traveling as missionaries. And Jesus supported them killing bandits in self-defense in the event that they would be attacked as missionaries. Luke 22:36. This was repeated by the Camisards and by the Covenanters. They would do open air meetings and they would have muskets with them while the church services were going on. So the real issue here is not he who lives by the sword dies by the sword. It does not mean you're not allowed to buy a gun. No, that would contradict Luke 22:36. What it means is that you shouldn't be trigger happy and just bloodthirsty and just can't wait to kill you somebody. Okay, that's the issue. And uh, so, like for example, gang members. Okay, people who just can't wait to kill a person. They're bloodthirsty, right? They're living in contradiction to the Ten Commandments, which says, "Thou shalt not kill." Or, gun enthusiasts who just love to go to gun shows all the time and go to the firing range all the time and just can't wait to just kill somebody, right? This is this is murder of the heart, and the Lord doesn't want you to have that. It's okay to have something, but you really also have to be detached from it in your heart. Buy yourself the sword, but don't make it an obsession. Don't make it an unhealthy obsession. Put it away somewhere, forget that it's even there, and it'll be a tool in a time of need. In the event that something really tragic happens, you can protect yourself. And that's Jesus's attitude. It's like you buy the weapon to defend yourself for self-defense, but just forget that it's there. You don't live by the sword, right? So living by the sword is basically being trigger happy, being obsessed with your weapons. You're just like can't wait to kill you somebody. All right. That's, you know, Jesus is anybody who hates a person has already killed them in his heart, murdered them already in his heart. So, and the Bible says that the soul of he who loveth violence, the soul of the Lord doth hate. He that loveth violence, the soul of the Lord doth hate. Um, so, a lot of people in, Western countries have glorified the soldiers to the point of, if you want to become a real man, a real patriot, and have honor all of your days, you have to become a soldier, and everyone will honor you all the rest of your days on account of that. And there's a lot of indoctrination that happens with this. Fathers to their sons, grandfathers to their sons, and even in schools, young men are taught by teachers to join the military, to join up and get involved in the thick of the battle. And I just finished watching yesterday because it was, it's Memorial Day. I watched All Quiet on the Western Front, the 1979 version, and it's such an anti-war movie because they're showing you how high school boys get indoctrinated. They get their heads full of stuff from their fathers, from their teachers. Their heads full of stuff like patriotism and have the glory of war and the glory of soldierly combat. And um, and then the reality is, in 8 months' time, most of them are dead and experiencing amputations because shrapnel went into their arms or their legs and they have to be amputated. I mean, it's just war is a meat grinder, and but none of the kids are taught these things. Their fathers don't talk about these things. The teachers don't talk about these things for the simple fact that they've never been soldiers before. It becomes a conversation piece in the bar. It becomes a conversation piece in the classroom. It becomes a conversation piece at the dinner table, and it becomes this political conversation piece among men. But none of them know the horrors of bodily mutilation. None of them know the horrors of having a person's face burned off, their arms and legs amputated, or living in constant risk of the loss of your life. All they can think about are, nations competing with one another, political competitions, and the issues that cause and give rise to war, and military history, and technical elements of weapons, and da 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 da. And they're so detached. It's this philosophical conversation about war, and they're so detached from the reality of war, of bodily mutilation, of constant loss of life and limb, and constant loss of life, and just the constant fear that 18 and 19-year-old boys have of losing their lives. And so they get brainwashed into serving in the military and they have no idea what they're getting themselves into. And so that's All Quiet on the Western Front. That's the first anti-war book, the first anti-war movie to really show you how detached civilian men are from the horrors of war. And then once the boys actually, you know, buy into it, they're constantly living in hell, and they die, and they get mutilated, and they come back and they're completely miserable and suicidal all the rest of their days. Ecclesiastes 3:8 says there's a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. Now, a time to hate does not overrule Jesus's teaching to love your enemies. It does not overrule Jesus's teaching that whosoever has hated a brother has already committed murder in his heart. What it's talking about is to get ready for war, right? There's a time for peace and there's a time for war. That's true. I mean, there's times where tyrannical people are, like Hitler, are going around and just causing all sorts of upset, and there needs to be a response. There needs to be a military response to that. So that's not just self-defense on the one-to-one level, that's self-defense on a national level. There's a time for that. Okay. So there's a time for it, and God has instituted those authorities, and they do not bear the sword in vain. Uh, but when people are bloodthirsty, when they just can't think to themselves, I can't just wait to kill me some Arabs, like I heard this one kid say in high school. I can't wait to kill me some Arabs. That's wrong. That's a wrong attitude. That's what you call living by the sword, dying by the sword. And I'll bet you that kid's dead now, because he had the wrong attitude. I'm sure that he went in there with a bloodthirsty attitude, and his bloodthirsty attitude got the best of him. I'm sure he's not even alive anymore. His kid was named Jake. Yeah, I used to lift weights with him. He's like, yeah, I can't wait to join the military so I can kill me some Arabs. That is not a Christian attitude to have uh, at all about the topic of war, military, and soldierly activity. Psalm 144:1 says, "Blessed be the Lord my rock, who trains my hands for war and my fingers for battle." So yet there are times where even men of God have to be put into a war scenario, and they have the Lord to train them for that. But this doesn't mean you literally jump headlong into every little battle and every little war just for the sake of it, just for the sake of fatherland, just for the sake of patriotism, just for the sake of teachers and the respect of your fathers and grandfathers, because they have, they like to talk about military conquests at Thanksgiving and Christmas, and here you are, come home a soldier boy, as another conversation piece for them, risking life and limb, and they're completely detached from all of that. Romans 13:4, he is God's servant for your good. If you do wrong, be afraid. He does not bear the sword in vain. He is the servant of God and an avenger who carries out God's wrath on the wrongdoer. And that's what soldiers are. Soldiers are national police. What the police are in your local town, soldiers are for the whole country. And so there's a time and a place for that, all right? But whether you're a policeman or a soldier, your attitude should be one of, I hope I don't have to kill somebody today. That's the last thing on my mind. That, I might be trained for war. My fingers might be ready to use my gun, but I pray to God I never have to use it on a person in Jesus' name, right? Why do we train? Mr. Miyagi said, why do we train to fight? So that we don't have to. That should be the attitude about a policeman and a soldier. You train to fight so that you don't have to. It's to provide security. It's to enforce the law. It's not so that you could become a bloodthirsty serial killer with the stamp of approval from the United States government, right? So this bloodthirsty spirit needs to be removed. It needs to be removed. Jesus says, sell your cloak and buy a sword, but he also says, they who live by the sword die by the sword. Don't live by your sword, right? Don't literally, oh man, I can't wait to use this and end a person's life. That is a wrong attitude. That is a wrong, there is a reason why you have that gun. It is to uphold security, it is to uphold peace, and it is to enforce the law, right? The last resort, the last resort should be to have to use that thing to end another person's life. That is the last resort. But if you're sitting there and you're thinking, man, I just can't wait to kill me somebody, just can't wait to kill somebody, that is wrong. That is wrong. The Bible says those who love violence, where's that? Where's that? Psalm 11:5. Psalm 11 verse 5. The Lord trieth the righteous, but the wicked and him that loveth violence, his soul hateth. God hates you if you love to kill people. He hates you, right? That goes directly against the type of person he is, right? So if you have a weapon and you're sitting there thinking to yourself, man, I just can't wait to kill somebody today. I want you to know that God hates you and you need to repent and change your heart right now. If you're so hard-hearted that that's what you're thinking every single day, you might say, well, it's my job. No, no, there's a Christian way to be a soldier. There is a Christian way to be a policeman. If you're sitting there fantasizing about ripping a guy's head off, okay, God hates you. He hates you. And he wants you to stop doing that. He wants you to stop being that way, okay? Um, and there's no God created people. And it's when people break his laws and the rules of common decency that military activity and police activity has to come to the fore to bring correction. But if you're sitting there with a bloodthirsty spirit, listen to Jesus say to you, put your sword back into its place. For all who take the sword will perish by the sword. Do you not think that I can appeal to my Father, and he will at once send me more than 12 legions of angels? Matthew 26:52 to 53. That's another thing. I mean, soldiers need to trust in the Lord. It's not just you. It's just not just all you. I mean, there's another thing. I mean, here's another thing. It's hard to worship the Lord when you're so distracted with the thought of dying or killing other people. Think about that. Why are you a soldier if you're a soldier? Why are you a soldier? Why are you a policeman? Did you get into it for all the right reasons? Or did you get into it because your grandpa, your dad, or your brother talked you into it? And you're risking life and limb for this. Did you ever ask Jesus about it? Did he ever respond? Did you run ahead without his call? You know? So really, how much of this is motivated by movies and video games and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and how much of this is motivated by Jesus? Be honest with yourself. Now, if you're in a military contract and you're there for years and years, look, let's say there's a part of you that says, I don't want to be a soldier anymore. Okay, well, maybe that's a good thing. But you're in a contract now, and you have to finish your service until it's done. Well, do it with your whole heart. Whatsoever thy hand findeth to do, do it with thy might. But learn how to be a Christian soldier, right? The Christian soldier has the attitude of a knight. There's a chivalry, there's a knightliness that says, look, I know how to brutally kill a person, but I'm going to show restraint, and I'm only going to do it if I absolutely have to, right? That's chivalry. That's the knightly chivalry attitude to have. And Jesus says, buy a sword in Luke 22:36, but then he says, put your sword back into its place in Matthew 26:52. There's a tension there. There is a tension there. On the one hand, it says in Psalm 144, One, blessed be the Lord my rock, who trains my hands for war, my fingers for battle. And then on the other hand, in Ephesians 6:12, it says, we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, the authorities, the cosmic powers of the present darkness, the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places. Are you using prayer? Are you using prayer as a soldier? I mean, this is totally legitimate. You could literally pray against the enemy the enemy forces and ask for angelic help. I mean, if you read the first Maccabees and second Maccabees, third Maccabees and fourth Maccabees, sometimes you'll find that the angels who had to come and help Israel's armies and actually manifest during the battles. Uh, Interesting stuff. Again, that's apocrypha, but still interesting thought. I mean, are you really living for the Lord? I mean, that there are angels that can come alongside you and help you as a soldier. That's an interesting thought. How much are you involving God in this? They say there's no atheists in foxholes. Well, does it have to come down to that? Just atheism versus theism? Can't you draw closer to the Lord than that? Or are you so bloodthirsty that you can't even pray? Are you so bloodthirsty that you can't even think about the Bible seriously? I mean, why are you there? You really have to ask yourself that. Think about it. God bless you out there. This is John with WesleyGospel.com.